Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing my March TBR Bingo, which is the game I play every single month. This is the third month in a row where I try to figure out which books I am going to read in March, and I match them to prompts that I have on my bingo board. And for every single bingo that I get, I'm allowed to buy a book that month. If you want to watch the specifics of how this game is played and what all of the different things mean and how I pick some of the books, you can go and watch the first video, which is the January TBR Bingo. It was a lot of fun and I'm still having fun and still doing this. My board won't stay up on its own, so I have to hold it right now. So in case you're super curious and don't want to watch that video, basically what happens is that green is library books, blue is owned, yellow is buddy reads or book club books, and white is unknown. This month though, and moving forward, I'm going to have a special caveat, and that is that the middlemost square is going to be something that I get to pick before Bingo gets to pick anything else. Bingo gets to pick all of the white, the blue, and the greens, and then friends of mine get to pick the yellow ones, but that's a lot of pressure on not me, and it leads me to having books that I desperately want to read but won't make it on the board. So from now on, I'm going to say that I'm allowed to pick whatever this middle slot is, and I'm allowed to have it be a library book or an owned book or a borrowed book or whatever. It doesn't have to follow a certain category. So this month, that book is actually already picked, and that is going to be Burn Our Bodies Down by Rory Powers. So I have read Wilder Girls, and I'm really excited to be getting into this one as well. I know that we are going to be following a young girl who there's all this mystery about where her mother came from, and she goes back to her mom's hometown to try to figure out her past and her family and trying to get some answers. But I'm kind of in the mood for weird YA contemporary, so this will be a good one for that. Now the other slots that are already chosen for me, I will put in right now, and then I'll talk to you about all of them. Okay, so starting at 9 o'clock from Burn Our Bodies Down, I have the book The Lies of Locke Lamora, which my book club is going to be reading together this month. The Lies of Locke Lamora, we are following a Keist, a con man, a man who can kind of get what he wants done, and this con that he pulls on the town. I've actually started this book in the past, but I read all of the prologue and wasn't completely pulled into the story, but I'm really glad my book club picked it up because it's something I've always wanted to go back to, have just never had the motivation in order to do it. Next up at noon, I have Master of Sorrows, which I know has a magical school setting. I know we're going to be following kind of a chosen one trope. I know that magic is kind of an iffy subject in this book, but do I know anything else about it? Nope. And that is going to be a buddy read that I'm doing with a friend. Next is Gemina, which is the sequel to Illuminae, where it's a YA sci-fi book about this attack that happens on a mining colony and about the ships as they are trying to escape it. I'm not going to say anything more about it because it is the sequel to Illuminae, which I finished last month, and it is one of my favorite series of all times. I absolutely love it so much, but in each of the books we follow different characters, and they are multimedia books, but I personally love the audiobooks. They are full cast productions, and they are fantastic. I highly recommend you pick them up if you can. And at the bottom, we have Heir of Fire, which is my book club is doing a Sarah J. Maas along. This is the third book in the Throne of Glass series where we are following Selena Sardathian, and she is a trained assassin, and she is taken in the first book to the King of the Realm to try to compete in a competition to become his assassin, or his champion as they call it. And the later books follow a lot more development, a lot more magic, a lot more fantasy settings, a lot more fantasy elements, and they're really enjoyable and I'm enjoying them a lot. Those are also rereads for me, and I'm excited to get to this one because I think I'm going to be starting to get really invested in the book starting now. I'm going to set that here real quickly while we do us some shuffling. So these are my cards that I pick. They all have prompts on one side and a beautiful backing on the other. I designed them myself. And so what I will do is I will pick 8 of them, not look at them, you don't get to see them either, and I will put them facing away from us, and as the month goes on I will get to flip them as I read other books. So let's start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'm going to stick those in the slots right now. So that's what the board looks like officially right now. So next up we are going to pick the 4 library prompts. Let's pick the 4 of them off the top of the stack, which has already been shuffled, and then I will pick books for them as I go. The first library book up is Favorite color on cover. So my favorite color is definitely somewhere along the blue to purple range. For favorite color, I am stretching it slightly. I know I said blue and purple like 10 seconds ago, but I also really love black. I should have known this was coming. So for favorite color and library book, I'm going to be reading Fable by Andrena Young. I hope that's how you say her name. So this story I know is about a pirate, about this young girl, about, let's see what Goodreads has to say. Fable, the daughter of the most powerful trader in the Narrows, the sea is the only home she has ever known. It's been 4 years since the night she watched her mother drown during an unforgiving storm. The next day, her father abandoned her on a legendary island filled with thieves and little food. To survive, she must keep to herself, learn to trust no one, and rely on the unique skills her mother taught her. Really don't know a ton going into this. I've heard some good things. I've heard some meh things, but I am curious to know for myself. And I'm trying to get past my aversion to fables, retellings, myths, folklore by just trying out some more unique ones. Next up, we have title does not contain letter O. Interesting. For title does not contain the letter O, I am going to be reading Defy the Stars by Claudia Gray. I'm actually going to be buddy reading this with a friend, but I only have 4 buddy reading slots, so I am borrowing it from the library, so it has to fit into this category instead of into that one. But I know from this one that it is a romance between a girl, a teenage girl, and an AI. It is YA sci-fi romance, and we are both reading it because we are both sluts for Aiden from Illuminae Files. So we want to try to get some more AI love out there. So this is the one we're going to be trying. Do I know anything else about this? Nope. And next we have gray cover. I think I've picked that every single month. I think I have. For gray cover, I am going to be listening to the audiobook Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. I'm actually going to be reading this for a secret TBR video, so we're not going to talk about it here because it's secret. But I've decided to tell you this one because I don't think from me telling you just that book, you're going to be able to guess what the secret TBR is. In fact, if you have a guess, let me know down below because I'd love to know if anyone's even close to accurate. And finally, for library books, the last one is Upside Down, of course. 5-star prediction. Great. I know exactly what book I'm using for that one. And for 5-star prediction, I'm doing another book for that same secret TBR. So if you want a second clue, stay tuned. And for that, I am going to be reading A Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. Shh, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to say anything else about this book right now. So those are all of my library books. Now we get to do the final fun, exciting round, which is owned. And for those, we get to pick 8 more and put them in the board, and I'll pick the books as we go for you. Let's start with the first one. Excuse me, this board is usually not like this. I changed my filming setup. Again, I change it every single month basically because I'm trying to find the perfect setup, and let me tell you, this is not the one. This isn't the one. We'll keep adjusting and see how other ones go for us. Okay, this is a little bit better. Let's keep going now. I'm not gonna get it perfect this time, unfortunately. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 ones that will be now on my owned category. So the first one up is going to be Character Same As Me. I definitely got that one last time, and I definitely think it was in the same slot. For Character Same As Me, do you hear the kids yelling outside? I really hope not, but unfortunately, I live in an apartment building, and you can hear noises all the time. For Character Same As Me, I am going to be finally getting to my arc that I'm so thrilled to be reading called The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. Now, for the similarity that me and the main character have is we are both female, but other than that, this is a Black fantasy written by and about a main character who is Black, and I know that there is definitely some Gladiator-esque vibes to it. I don't know a ton about it. I'm not going to be going into it here. It is one of my predictions for me absolutely loving it. Next, we have Green cover. I got this one last time, but it was for library cards. I don't need to tell you guys what I got last month. You watched last month. I think that that's just pointless banter that I'm saying things out loud and I don't need to actually be saying them out loud. For green cover, I'm going to be reading Memories of Babel, which is how I pronounce it, but that's not how the audiobook pronounces it. So I don't actually know how this book is supposed to be pronounced, but this is the third book in the Mirror Visitor Quartet. The first book is A Winter's Promise, which I read earlier this year, and then I also read The Missing of Claire de Lune earlier this year. That's the sequel, and now I'm reading the third one because I freaking love this series so much. So we are following our main girl, Ophelia, as she is sent in an arranged marriage to the North Pole, and she has the ability to travel through mirrors, and she can touch something and read its past and read who has interacted with it. So she's sent off to the North Pole as like a political marriage, and once she gets there, of course, she realizes things aren't always as they seem, and her fiance might not have her best interests in mind, and maybe he does, we don't know. It's a lot of twists and turns, it's a lot of political intrigue. It is translated from French, so the fourth book is published in French, but I don't speak French, so I'm waiting. Hopefully the fourth one will be released in English in April, but I'm not keeping my fingers crossed because it doesn't seem like there's much news about it. So hopefully, all I know is I have rated the first two 5 stars. Both of them have made it on my favorites of the year list. I do know that just looking at Goodreads, a lot of people don't like this book compared to the other two, but they still enjoy it. So I'm hoping to get to it. I'm hoping to love it. Please. Next, I have Title Contains letter R. Now, before I tell you which book I picked for the next one, in the month of March, I am going to be doing like a mini Bardugo-a-thon. And so you're going to be seeing 4 of her books over the next few prompts that I have, but they're going to be kind of out of order just how they could fit the prompts. So just know that. I am doing this in preparation for Rule of Wolves coming out on the 30th. So I'm not putting that onto my list because I don't think I'm going to have time to read it this month because it comes out on the 30th and March only has 31 days. So unless I get hit with a brick in the head, wait, what day is the 30th on? Yeah. And the 30th is on a Tuesday. And we all know that I don't do much reading during the week. It's all kind of on the weekends or like on Friday. So I don't think I'm going to be able to get to Rule of Wolves this month, but I really hope so. If not, you're going to be seeing it in my April TBR. But to prepare for that, I'm going to be reading 4 Leigh Bardugo books this month. And one of them is going to be the one that contains an R, which is Crooked Kingdom. This is the sequel to Six of Crows, which I will be talking about briefly. You'll see it on here, so I'm not going to talk about it here. Just know that this picks up right where Six of Crows left off. A lot of people have read this. A lot of people have loved it. I love it. This is the 3rd time I'm reading this book, and it's fantastic. I'm a fan. Next, Title Contains letter T. Whew. Let me tell you, already this board is being so much nicer to me than it is normally. For Title Contains a T, I'm going to be reading The Last Mortal Bond by Brian Staveley. This is the 3rd and final in this trilogy, but not final in this world book of the Unhewn Throne series. So after this, Skullsworn does come, and I don't own it yet, but I'm hoping that I can buy it with some bingos this month. And then after that, he's doing another series, which will be published in June or July of this year, which I'm so freaking excited about. So this is the wrap up, the finale. Book 1 follows 3 adult children after the emperor has died, and they are the emperor's kids, of course. And one of them is training to be a monk, one of them is training to be an elite soldier, and one of them is training in politics. And it is about them trying to get the kingdom under control after the assassination of the emperor and getting the correct child into the throne. And I am loving this series. It is very dark, very bloody, very gruesome, lots of content warnings. The is really unique because the people who have magic are outlawed, and yet the government uses them as soldiers and as weapons, and yet they're completely outlawed and would be killed if they were doing anything else. I'm really enjoying this series, and I read Providence of Fire last month, and it was also a 5-star. It was really enjoyable, and I cannot wait to get to The Last Mortal Bond, even though it is really long, and I'm kind of scared about that. Title Contains letter N. The contains are a lot easier than the do not contains. For Title Contains an N, I am going to be reading Queen of the Conquered. Yeah, this has been on my TBR for a few months now. I am getting to it this month. I've just been too busy in the past to get to it, and my library has the audiobook, which is finally out to me, so I will be listening and reading along with it. So this is a fantasy. I always forget what it's about until I read the back cover. about this woman who her whole entire family was massacred, and she is trying to be chosen as the successor to the king so that she can enact her justice. I've heard it's really slow, but I've heard it's really good, so I'm hoping I can get through that slowness and enjoy this book. Title does not contain letter E. Crap, that means that there's no the available. No the. For title does not contain letter E, I'm going to be reading King of Scars. So this is part of the second duology by Lee Bardugo that takes place with characters from Six of Crows and from Shadow and Bone, but really we're following more of the side characters from those two series. And this is the first one, and the next one will be Rule of Wolves, which I talked about earlier. I am really excited. I think I'm one of the few people who actually like really freaking loved this book and read it like right when it came out. I know a lot of other Lee Bardugo fans who maybe they're not the biggest fans, but they like her work, just haven't picked this one up yet, but I really enjoyed it. I know it has flaws. I know that it just like doesn't quite make sense. I know that it unwrites some of the history that she's already written, but I'm not gonna lie, I pretty much like what she writes. I mean, to be fair, I don't like the sequel and the third one in Shadow and Bone, but I don't have to deal with Alana, what the hell is her name? I forget her name. I don't have to deal with her or Mal, so I'm gonna like this book. Oh my god, what if I have to deal with them in the next one? Oh my god. Oh my god. Title does not contain letter G. I've gotten that every single month, and last month and this month I'm gonna say the same thing. I used House in the Cerulean Sea for this in January, and I constantly want to reread that book, and one day, maybe I'll reread it for the same prompt that it was originally read for. For title does not contain letter G, I'm going to be reading Shadow and Bone. So this one and the last one were both rereads for me. All of Lee Bardugo is a reread for me. I'm caught up on her books, even the novellas. So this is the one that the TV show is going to be about. That's coming out pretty soon. When is that coming out? I don't remember, but soon. I mean, it has characters from this and from Six of Crows in it, to be honest. But this, we are following Alina Starkov, and what do I say about this? She finds out pretty quickly into the book that she is actually a Grisha, and she is a very rare Grisha. And a Grisha is someone who has magical abilities in this world. And so she is taken to the palace where she works alongside the Darkling, who seems to have a similar yet opposite ability to hers. And they kind of grow together as characters and learn to trust each other and learn not to trust each other and figure out that things aren't quite as they seem. I think the catchphrase for YA fantasy is things are not as they seem, because I seem to say it after every single book that I summarize. If you haven't read this book already, you're probably not going to read it, so I'm not going to sit here and talk to you about it a lot. I know that summary just there didn't do it justice, but it's been a long time since I've read this, and when I did read it the first time, I read it in one freaking day. So I doubt I'm going to be doing that again this time, but we'll see. The final card is black cover. Fun times. And for black cover, if you're shocked, you need some help. I'm going to be reading Six of Crows, which is one of my favorite books of all time, which totally makes sense with the pile that I just showed you. Is such a beautiful and wonderful book, and if you haven't picked it up, I highly recommend this one. Like, everyone on BookTube recommends this book, so I try not to recommend it ever, but since I'm going to be reading it this month, I recommend this one for you as well. This, we are following a gang, a six-gang group of teenagers as they go on this heist to steal this item, and they're a diverse gang, they're a fun gang. I love them so much. I mean, everyone has their favorites, and everyone's favorite is Kaz, and if it's not, then you're just wrong, so bye. If you know me, you know I love heist books, and you know that I love YA fantasy, or I'm finding I love really well-written YA fantasy, which this one is definitely well-written. If you don't like this book, I'm sorry. If you do like this book, you've already read it, so I don't need to be saying anything else to you. This is the third or fourth time that I'm reading this book. I cannot remember, and it's definitely not going to be the last. Anyways, this is my final board for the month. I'll try to hold it where you can see it. I am really freaking excited about this. I love playing this game. It's really fun, and I hope that you enjoy it too, because I'm going to keep doing it, at least for all of 2021. So thank you for watching. I appreciate each and every single one of you. If you have read any of these books, please comment down below. I'd love to talk to you about them, or if you have some ideas for some really cool prompts, because I am in the market to broaden my prompt selection. Thank you for watching. I don't remember how my outro goes, but until next time, I'll talk to you in the comments. Bye.